So needless to say, I done goofed in the last episode. And by we, I mean me, I managed to completely overlook an exact elite potential in the draft who ended up, in fact, being a medium elite, that of course being Wotherspoon. How that happened, why that happened, again, I could blame it on being tired. I typically record episodes pretty soon, pretty shortly after waking up or shortly before going to bed. So that is often an excuse of mine. I don't recall being overly tired at the time. I think I just made a mistake, and I picked one hell of a time to make a mistake. At the very least, it was in the year one draft. It would have been nice to get him, though, but I don't know, man. I don't know. I can't really defend that. It is what it is, though, and we'll look to move on. Season 2 begins in today's episode. Now, we did, of course, have a couple of question marks as far as what to do, and as the lineup currently stands is how we are going to move forward. It's the exact same lineup we left off with. I am going to start with Potato at the NHL level as opposed to Fabro. We're just going to test things out, see how they go, and make changes if we need to. And again, Yossi will start with Subban, even though that pairing didn't work that well last year. Pekka Rinne is staying for the moment. I do have the trade block set up, though, however. I want to see what kind of offers we can get for him first. Because when you look here, Giordano Spurgeon, Jared Spurgeon, as Don Cherry loves to call him. I can't do a Don Cherry impression. Vlasic, Dylan Larkin, Jonathan Taves. There are quite a few high-end players on the trading block to begin with. So I'm intrigued to see what kind of offers we would get. And actually here, I'll just show you how it's set up again. Without him actually being on the block, he's just set up as the only guy under surplus. Wants is set up so that we get an offer for anybody and anybody at all. Picks, whatever. So for now, we're good to go. I imagine we'll make quite a bit of progress in this episode. Saros will start as the NHL goaltender, and we don't have a back-to-back until we play Chicago and Edmonton. So let's go ahead and sim to that game against the Oilers midway through the month of October. And as mentioned, we'll take it from there. We'll see how things go to begin the season as far as what players, what questionable players perhaps underperform. Maybe we find that Saros struggles here early on, and we end up having to make certain changes, as I apparently forgot to set up the scouting. That's unfortunate. We just missed out on 2 weeks or so, unless it's scouted some random location. I'm intrigued to see what happens here. Obviously, last year we were off to a pretty rough start, all things considered, especially for how well this team is capable of performing. We were able to overcome that. We made it to the playoffs. We overcame a rough start at the beginning of the playoffs, made it to the conference final, and just got absolutely owned by Jonathan Quick. Maybe this year, though, we see some different results. Of course, you factor in the progression of some players as Craig Smith already goes down to injury. He's out for a month. Solid. Austin Watson will take his spot for now, and we'll drop Watson down to the fourth line whenever we stop here, which will be at the end of the week once we play the Oilers. We're 3-1. Can we make it 4 to begin the season? It's a bit of a pause here. I don't like that. As we get an offer for Rinne. Oh my God, what is this trade? So Rinne in a second for Colin Wilson, former Pred, 2 seconds and a third. So basically, Colin Wilson, a second and a third for Pekka Rinne. I don't know. That's such a weird offer. I understand why they'd want to trade Colin Wilson. How did he do last year? He put up 50 points last year. Holy hell. Way to go, Colin. Damn. Now, Rinne wouldn't have played yet this year. That's an interesting offer. I am going to hold off for now. But it's interesting. A solid player who's not going to have a ton of value, though. A second and a third. I don't know. We need to see how Saros is doing first. We do move to 4-1 on the season, but it's interesting to know that that's the type of offer that an AIGM has sent us. Johansson, 5 points in 5 games. Not a terrible start to the season for him. Couldn't hold off on that. I do apologize. We'll bump up Colton Sissons. who, in fairness, is doing quite well to start. And actually, Watson was doing okay on that third line. Goaltending. Saros is killing it. Absolutely killing it. So already, Pekka Rinne, you need to prove your worth. I'm going to only play you against the Oilers here, I think, before we go back to Saros. So let's go ahead and sim this game. If he loses, he could be in trouble. It's a 5-1 win. Not bad. 5-1 win. Johansson with a 2-point game. I like the way this team is playing to begin the season. A much better start. A lot less stressful when you know, of course, that we are a cup contending team, or at least on paper, we should be. We should be right there with the best of the best. We do not have another back-to-back for the rest of this month. We don't have a back-to-back until we play Boston and Ottawa. So Pekka Rinne right now is going to continue to ride Pine because we have a beast in the form of UC Saros right now. What a start to the season. Last game of October, we actually get an offer. It's a second-round pick for Chris Kunitz and a fourth, which we will obviously decline as we end up beating Chicago. A first for Liam Foudy, a third and a fourth. No, thank you at all. Of course, it's factoring in that I said, hey, draft picks are fine. We just beat Ottawa 9-2, by the way. We ended up losing to Colorado, but a 9-2 victory over Ottawa. Good Lord, and Craig Smith is back from injury, so Sissons will be dropped, and we will welcome Craig Smith back to the lineup. How is Saros doing? Oh my God. UC Saros is a machine right now. You know, I shouldn't be surprised. I'm not, but I'm still pissed. UC Saros is out for a month, ladies and gentlemen. It's a good thing we have Pekka Rinne. Troy Grosenick will be called up. That is a very, very frustrating injury. Pekka Rinne, though, congratulations. You're our starter yet again moving forward, and Troy Grosenick will actually end up playing against Ottawa as Rinne wins one and loses the other. Don't know if we're going to say it was only him. It could have been the team in front of him as well. But we have 23 points through 14 games. That is one hell of a start. And shockingly, Troy Grosenick is going to get a chance at the NHL level. When is the last time Troy Grosenick played an NHL game? 2014-15, I'm pretty sure that would have been for the Sharks. 2 games, he was 1-1 with a .948. In fairness, good Lord. Troy, if you can play up to that level, then buddy, we might have a winning formula here. We crushed Ottawa last time out, even though they have a winning record, and we lose 4-1. That is going to hurt the all-time NHL save percentage for one Troy Grosenick. Yeah, 846. Not ideal. Pekka Rinne, are you hot right now? We're going to find out. We better hope so that we can continue this high level of play and this strong run of form. 11-3-1 to begin the season. We don't have a back-to-back until we play Dallas and Winnipeg. Both are good teams, so we'll sim to the Winnipeg game before we look at playing Grosenick. To answer your question of why don't I call up Svoboda, I just want him to still be the starter. It doesn't really matter. 3-point overall difference, I don't think is that big of a deal. We may be getting an offer for Rinne here. Of course, I'm not really looking for a trade at this point. It might not be the worst idea to just keep Pekka Rinne, especially right now. So we get an offer this time for Eric Johnson. Rinne and a first for Eric. Get out of here. Get out. Don't let the door hit you with a good... Actually, no, let the door hit you with a good Lord split you. You're terrible. Get out of here. I don't like you. That's a hell of a line, by the way. Philip Forsberg was apparently banged up. He is good to go. We've allowed 7 goals in 2 of our last 3 games. A little bit less now. So the record has slipped a little bit. I hate to have to clear my throat, but you know, there are just some things you got to do. The record slipped a little bit. Dallas now has the jump on us. They have a game at hand, so we're sliding a bit. I'd imagine that Rinne is not exactly killing it. He's doing good, but not great. So, yeah. The argument, of course, of could we find a goaltender who could do that, who's much lower overall, much less value? The answer is yes, of course, as Grosenick at least earned us a point against Winnipeg. So I'll take that. Get the points where you can get them. Troy Grosnick, congratulations, and 858. Yikes. Yikes. So, we will continue to monitor this situation. Obviously, the injury to Saros doesn't help what we're dealing with right now. And the good thing is we don't have a back-to-back until we play Montreal and Toronto. Toronto, as they call it. Toronto. We don't have a back-to-back until that split there. So I'd like to think we'll be okay. Of course, Saros will be back. It's just a matter of what the hell is our record going to look like. And again, if we're going to lose, at least lose in overtime. Get those sweet, sweet pity points. As Saros is back, tremendous. And now might be a good time, actually, to look at the lineup. Serene overall, he's doing pretty well. Grosnick, not so much. Saros will regain the starting goaltender spot. Defensively, 16 points for Yossi and a plus 12, 15 points for Subban and a plus 16. So they are working well together this season. Ekholm and Ellis have been okay. Potato and Weber have also been okay. Yannick Weber's actually been pretty good for us. So defensively, I like what I see. On the offensive side of things, 10 points for Fiala. That's a bit low. It's a tad bit. 22 points for Johansson. And the 22 for one Philip Forsberg. So Fiala, you might be getting dropped. Oh my goodness. Whoo. Wow. Arvidsson and fucking Tolvanen work so well together, man. I don't know if I want to bump up Tolvanen. I feel like he works so well together with the other two. But I don't know who we swap here. I don't think I'd want to drop Kevin Fiala down to the third line, but damn. Holy hell, 11 points for Hartman, 10 for Bonino, 7 for Smith. So we've been getting some secondary scoring. Yarncroke and Sissons have worked well together, so that's good. That's promising. Let me see here. Smith can technically play center. Do I want to break up that second line? I really don't. 23 points for Arvidsson. 21 for Turris. That second line's killing it. But I kind of want to bump down Fiala because it's not really working right now. You know, let's just try something here in the interim. Let's go Fiala, Smith, Hartman. Maybe? Yeah, let's do that. Well, Fiala, Yarncroke, Sissons? Salamaki, Smith, Hartman. Let's reward Yarncroke and Sissons for working well together. We'll put them with Fiala. That's a good amount of depth being bounced around there. Let's try it. I'm not against just, trying different random combinations. Richard's doing well. What about Trennan? One of our other major prospects. Fabro, of course, the one that we really wanted to watch. Yikes. All right, those pairings. I mean, this third pairing's working well. We need to break up these pairings. They're all righties as well. See, they're all righties. They're not all righties, so they're all terrible. Fabro, Doughty, Allard, Carrier is what we'll do there. And the goaltending, Svoboda is terrible this season. He was much, much better last year. But still, let's continue onward now with these changes. And Saros back between the pipes. As we might be getting an offer here. We are. 2 first-round picks for Eric Stahl. Yeah, I think we're good. For the moment, I think we're okay. Just leave me alone. For now. There's still an outside chance of me trading Pekka Rinne. There's an outside chance of me perhaps making a move or two. Mainly 2, depending on who still ends up on the trade block and could be acquired for cheap. For now, though, especially due to that Saros injury, I'm going to be a little bit hesitant to make anything happen here. So we actually lost 3 games in a row. I don't really want to back out, but unless we turn it around as Sissons ends up getting injured, he'll be out for a week or so. Austin Watson will draw back into the lineup. We are losing more games now. Actually, I think this is a back-to-back right here, and I just flat out missed it. Yep. Whoops. Oh, God. There it is. At least that mistake's not as bad as Wotherspoon. How the hell did I miss that we had a back-to-back there? How the hell did I miss that? Regardless, I'm just going to sim to Toronto as we are plummeting down the standings. Good Lord. Well, if Pekka Rinne wins this, and you could argue we should have been playing over the past week. If Pekka Rinne wins this, man, the Central's very close right now, but if he wins this, he will regain his starting job. Saros down. I mean, Saros is still killing it, but we'll give Rinne the chance if he can win back the crease. And then let's see. Okay, so Ellis has had a rough couple of days. We'll leave that the same for the moment. Offensively, Bonino has not worked on that top line whatsoever. That second line's still doing well. I don't know if we want to bump up Yarncroke, but we might. Hartman's still doing okay, too. You know, again, I'd prefer Forsberg to be on that. Actually, for him to be on the left side's not terrible. Let's switch it up here. Let's switch it up. It's 10 points for Bonino, 14 for Yarncroke, 13 for Fiala, and 9 for Smith. Let's have Salamaki, Watson, Smith, Fiala, Bonino, and Yarncroke. We'll have Forsberg, Johansson, and Hartman as the top line. We'll give Hartman the opportunity, just like we're giving Pekka Rinne the opportunity here. If he wins, he stays until probably the next back-to-back. We'll give him an opportunity here. It's a tough matchup against Toronto, and we get the 5-2 win. So for the moment, Pekka Rinne will continue on as our starter. We have a home-at-home with St. Louis, so Rinne will get the next 2 games. Sissons is back in, and after this, we will see if he can win the job back. He being Saros. So Sissons is here. That's Austin Watson game. Sissons, thank you. He was still working really well together with Yarncroke. So I'm actually going to reunite that line as originally planned. And then Bonino will be down here with Craig Smith. We'll do it that way. As we end up beating Minnesota, back-to-back wins. We can't make it 3 in a row. We're at 20-13-5. The Admirals, unfortunately, not exactly killing it either at the moment. But Forsberg right now, our leading scorer. And again, the playoff race, it's just, there's only one team that I could see on 31 points that happened to be out of it. We're looking okay. If Saros wins, he gets back in. If not, we turn to Pekka Rinne. So let's see what he can do against the St. Louis Blues. We lost the first matchup. Will we lose that one? Yes, we will. 4-1 loss. Pekka Rinne, we're going to give you a chance, as Bonino's a little bit roughed up. That's a tad bit scary. Saros down to a 938, Rinne at a 924. Let's give Rinne the chance, the opportunity, to get a couple of games in here just because of the slide of Saros. Don't know if we're going to blame him completely. Probably not. We have a back-to-back against Edmonton and Colorado. Let's sim to that point as we are into January. Happy New Year. It's 2019. 7-0 win over the Habs to ring in the new year. We beat Detroit as well. We beat Dallas, too. Not a bad run at all to begin this month, to begin the new year. We'll go 3 weeks for goaltenders in the O. Can we beat Edmonton? We cannot. So the winning streak comes to an end there. But 23-15-5. Saros will get the next 2 games regardless. Of course, because then we have another back-to-back at Chicago and Anaheim. So UC Saros will get the opportunity here. Rinne still at a 923. But he's getting results. Hartman, 19 points, 14 goals. Not too shabby. I feel like that second line's slowed down just a little bit. Just a tiny bit. We'll keep an eye on it, though. It's a shame that Craig Smith, I mean, he was doing so well on the top line last year. Yeah, he was on the top line, wasn't he? The third line's doing okay. I, again, just like the idea. You know what? I'm going to try something here. Hartman did start to score more goals. He is shooting 23%. You know what? No, I'm going to stick with it. I'm going to stick with it. But if Hartman starts to slip up a little bit, Smith can get the opportunity. So, UC Saros in goal for the next 2 games. We'll see what he can do as we're making our way towards the deadline. We're playing Colorado. Pretty solid record, close in the standings. It's a 5-2 loss. Not ideal by any stretch of the imagination. We'll see what happens against Chicago. If he loses, then for sure, Rinne's the starter moving forward. Colton Sissons bumped up again He'll be out for a week, but still, quite a few injuries for him. We end up beating Chicago, so if Rinne loses here to Anaheim, Saros will get the opportunity. We'll see what happens. Let's also bump up Craig Smith just to give him a chance alongside Yarncroke. Calle Yarncroc. Let's see. Against the Anaheim Ducks, they're a 500 team, and they beat us 4-3. Saros, congratulations. You have regained control of the crease for now, as we will continue to march on. And I don't think I'm going to make a decision on Pekka Rinne until we know for sure what our scenario, what our situation is and what the scenario is as we head towards the playoffs. I just don't think we can make that call. We don't have a back-to-back for the rest of the month. We do, though, to begin the next month against LA and Minnesota. So Saros gets the opportunity moving forward. Sissons should be back from injury, and he is. We're going up against a very game Toronto team. We'll see how this goes. And where is Sissons? There he is. Add him back to the third line. Let's go. Let's see how we do. It's an overtime loss. Anthony Angelo goes down to a mild concussion for the Admirals. We'll just have the game replace him. That's back-to-back loss. Really 3 straight losses now. And we've lost 4 out of our last 5. We snapped that streak, though, in our last game. Who would have been out of the lineup? I think it would have been Ronaldo that was out for Angelo. I'm still going to make that change. But Zach Ronaldo is there in case of injury to anybody. Step in, have our primary face puncher, for lack of a better term, step into the lineup, see what he can do until someone's back to 100%. That's just how you do it. Back-to-back wins to end the month. Welcome to February, the best month, and my goodness, UC Saros is banged up again. Not great at all. The good news is that was the first game of the back-to-back. Rinne can just play both games, and we won't have to rely on Grosnick at all. But obviously not an ideal situation with Saros picking up 2 injuries this season. Hopefully we can change things as we're on a downward slide here with Rinne between the pipes. Saros is back. Let's see what we can do, and maybe even take a look at the lines, because we are... Wow, Rinne's actually down a point. And under a 920 save percentage. Not a good sign. Not a good sign at all. Defensively, Yossi Subban are still working relatively well together. Ekholm's doing well. Ellis has recovered. Potato and Weber aren't killing it, but they're doing okay, all things considered. Offensively, Forsberg still having a great season. Johansson's doing pretty well. Hartman only 21 points. Tolvanen, Turris, and Arvidsson are doing well. Perhaps not tremendously well. Fiala's done much better since we've gotten him and Yarncroke together, for that matter. 20 points for Sissons. 14 for Bonino. 14 for Smith. So Hartman's been okay. Again, Sissons and Yarncroke. That third line's really working well together right now. I almost feel like we should keep it just as is, and then of course Salamaki hasn't really done much. I don't want to change up that third line. I mean, 20 points for Sissons is solid. And how many games? 40-something? 48? That's not bad. On pace for nearly a 40-point season as a third liner. I'm good with that. And I think he started on the 4th line, technically. So we could make that change. Only 14 points for Smith. I just feel like we're not getting the most out of Smith. So I'm going to go with my gut here and make these changes and see if we can kind of spark Craig Smith to really get him going, especially after what he did last year. And we'll move forward with Saros as we lose 4-1. This is not a great stretch for us. We have been a very hot and cold team over the past season and a half since we've begun. Definitely prone to going on either big winning streaks or big losing streaks in general, as Roman Polak is on waivers. Interesting. You know, I'm going to say no to this. I'm going to say no, just because I feel like there might be better waiver claims, but it's an interesting offer. As we continue to lose hockey games, maybe we do need that little bit of grit that a Roman Polak and a Zach Ronaldo could provide us. I don't know. That might be the case. as we finally get another win. I mean, I say finally, but we did end up beating Philadelphia less than a week ago. It just doesn't feel like it. As we're looking for win number 30 on the season here against the New York Islanders, we will get it, as we are now just shy of deadline day. We got a few games to go. We are currently outside of the playoff structure, but only 6 points back of the division-leading Winnipeg Jets. That is how close this division is. It's pretty ridiculous. Pekka Rinne, this next game could decide your fate here. It's against a losing record Flyers team. Can you get the win? You lose 3-1. That might just be good day, sir. That might be. We have 2 games left before the deadline. We are going to sim to the deadline and see what the biggest problems with this team happen to be, and to make a decision on what we're going to do with Pekka Rinne. So let's move forward. Vancouver and Winnipeg. Saros gets the games, gets the starts. 3-1 win over the Canucks. And against the Jets, what's it going to be? It's going to be a 2-1 win. So that brings us to 32, 25, and 6 on the season. 25, 30, and 8 for the Admirals. So not looking too good for the reigning Calder Cup champions. But right now, we still find ourselves outside of the playoff structure, but only 4 points back of Dallas, although they do have a game in hand. It's an extremely close division. Really only St. Louis and Minnesota, you could argue, if they go on a run, they're not out of it. They're not. 20 games left to go for the Blues. They could easily find a way back into a playoff spot. But as it stands right now, in the Pacific, it's LA, Calgary, Arizona, and the Sharks actually have one of those spots. So Vancouver's terrible, Edmonton's terrible, and aside from that, every other team in the West is in it. In the Atlantic, you have, really, Ottawa and Florida battling for the wild card. Those top 3 spots are locked up. Montreal and Detroit, the only 2 teams out of it in the Atlantic. And in the Metro, I think at this point you have to argue from Pittsburgh down that they're in a lot of trouble. They're in a lot of trouble. So we are no doubt in the most competitive division right now. The LA Kings, the top team in the league, tied with Calgary for the best point pace. Actually, they're slightly ahead. Goals for, we are mid-table? Mid-table at 2.7. Goals against at a 2.38. That is the 3rd lowest number in the league. So our goaltending and defense has been on point. The goal scoring, though, you could argue, could definitely be improved. We do have the worst power play in the league. How is that possible? Don't know, especially with some of this talent, but that's definitely something we'll look to address. Our penalty kill, on the other hand, is the 4th best in the league at an 84.3. So again, defensively, we're good. We do need a little bit more of an offensive spark. That is undeniable. So that might be what we look to address. Let's take a look at the team and who might be the cause of that, I won't say flatlining offense, but it certainly hasn't been great. So Forsberg, our leading point getter, solid. No real complaints there. Johansson's doing well. There's no doubt we need another player for the top 6. Could give Fiala the chance. I just don't know if he's the ideal guy yet. I just don't think he is. I think if we look for a rental to bolster up that top 6, and then of course we have Fiala take over, we'd be good to go. Järnkrok's doing well. Hartman's okay, if not inconsistent. I'm okay with how the rest of the bottom 6 is doing. Salamaki's not great. At least he's not a minus player. Shooting 1.8%. I'd say those are our biggest weaknesses right now. Potentially just finding somebody better than Salamaki if we could, but definitely finding someone better for the top 6. And then defensively, no complaints there. Potato and Weber have just started to slip up. Again, we do have Matt Irwin there if needed. And of course, down in the AHL, we have some guys that could get the opportunity. A Connor Brickley, a Carl Persson, and of course, coming up down the pipeline, a Richard's there. Pettersson had a great season last year. How's he doing this year? Pretty damn good. But an ideal 4th line left wing, does that exist on this team? I'm going to say no, although we could give Connor Brickley the opportunity. And then, of course, defensively, unfortunately, someone like a Fabro, it just hasn't worked out well for Dante Fabro at all. We're going to need to look to change that up. So he's struggling at the NHL level or at the AHL level big time. Let's go with, well, let's see, you're both righties. So Fabro, you're going to get dropped. And we're going to we'll bump up Matt Donovan to play with Dougherty. Parakta with Fabro. Actually, Donovan's the veteran compared to the two. So we'll do that. Goaltending-wise, miserable goaltending probably doesn't help the plus-minus. So the AHL team, for now, they're good as we continue to get some of our younger players some ice time. But we have two problem areas. Top six spot and that fourth line left wing spot if we wanted an improvement. The question is, moving forward for this season, can we trust UC Saros? When he's healthy, he's great. He struggled with his health a little bit this season. And then Pekka Rinne. Obviously, he's doing well. Like, those are probably, slightly above average backup numbers. 36 years old, final year of his contract. If we want to get something for Rinne, now is obviously the time to do so. So you could argue if we get rid of Rinne, we need a backup, of course. We need that top line left wing. We have options as far as how to handle this. And again, looking at Rinne's value at this point, we could make something happen with that. We could. Just to take a look at what other teams are offering here. Number one, I would want to find a team that's looking to get rid of a goaltender. An NHL-ready goaltender, so Vladar, I'm sorry. Just because, again, trying to sign a free agent right now might be a bit inconsistent. David Rittich could work. Are you getting rid of anybody interesting? Sheelington, Anderson? No, that's not what we need. Back to goaltending. Is there any team that's like a perfect fit? If not, of course, we can find players on teams that aren't in this situation, that aren't looking to shop these guys. But obviously right now, for the sake of, not having to spend as much and getting the most back, this would work. Varlamov is on the last year of his contract, but the value is a bit too high, I'd say. Berube's there. Anton Khudobin. 2 years left, though. That new contract has just kicked in. Edmonton's shopping Talbot, but they're also shopping Al Montoya. And Montoya could work. They're shopping Milan Lucic, which isn't a surprise. They don't have who we're looking for offensively. They just don't. Florida, shopping Montembeault. That's not going to work. LA looking to move Jack Campbell. I'd like someone at least another overall point better. Staylock in Minnesota. Could work. Are you getting rid of who we're looking for? You are definitely not. That is unfortunate. Montreal. And again, it's probably unlikely that we end up finding the team, the exact team that has everything that we're looking for. Although this is close. This is pretty close. Montreal might work. I don't know how they ended up with Matt Duchene. And I'm not saying it's the best idea to go out and rent Matt Duchene. But it's a possibility. Because again, he'd be cheaper. They have him on the block. So we'll remember Montreal for the moment. Keith Kincaid is a little bit more value than I prefer. New Jersey does. They do have Camilleri and Zajac, but that's not great. I was gonna say the Devils, and I was gonna say New Jersey. And I'm like, the Islanders, Leonard and Grice. I think Grice still has too much term left. He does, and then Leonard has too much value. The Rangers, Georgiev, Stahl. Nope, that's not gonna work. The Ottawa Senators, shopping Steve Mason. Is there retained salary in that? There must be. 2 years left for him. They are shopping Mark Stone. He's a bit out of our price range. Kevin Hayes, though, not so much. Ryan DeZingle, not so much. So, Ottawa could work as well. Ottawa could work as well and would technically be cheaper. Although, of course, you could argue the forward that we'd be getting, not as solid as a Matt Duchene, but there would still be some point options there. Especially DeZingle. We improved him after the Ottawa series. The Flyers, shopping Elliott and Neuwirth, and I know you would have seen who was there, Wayne Simmons. And there is someone like a Raffle or a Jordan Wheel for the fourth line. Okay, so Montreal, Ottawa, Philadelphia, they all work right now in terms of what they're looking to move. Pittsburgh's not going to work. San Jose, Logan Couture, I bet you want to move that contract. It's not a 9-year deal. It had to be because in real life, Logan Couture for the 17-18 season was on a 2-way deal, so you drop that to a 1-year deal and then a 9-year deal. That's how it works. San Jose, though, could work. Because we could be looking at a Joe Thornton and a Jonas Donskoy if they have a goaltender. They don't, and that's why I've been starting with goaltenders. So right now, I'd still say Montreal, Ottawa, and Philly. St. Louis shopping Chad Johnson. Nobody forward-wise, although Thomas is looking pretty good, but he's obviously not what we're looking for right now. Toronto's shopping McElhaney. Nobody else, though. The Canucks are moving Nilsson. That's not ideal. Joel Ward's certainly not good enough. Vegas Golden Knights, Oscar Dansk. Nikita Gusev. Nikita Gusev. You know, in a way, Vegas would also work. If we wanted something draft pick heavy, we could get Oscar Dansk as the backup. We could get Nikita Gusev, maybe even Brandon Peary or Oscar Lindberg for the fourth line, and we could just hope that Gusev turns into what he turned into in Ottawa. We could do it if we wanted a really cheap option. He's not signed, though, so I'm not sure. I think we'd be able to sign him and he'd still show up, hopefully. That could be a cheap option. Washington, you're not going to have who we need. And Winnipeg, you're not going to have who we need. So as far as our options go right now, in my opinion, you do have the Vegas Golden Knights with Oscar Dansk, maybe Gusev if we're allowed to sign him, and then Peary or Lindberg. That would obviously be more draft pick heavy, I would say. The Philadelphia Flyers, the main target here would be Wayne Simmons. We could also look to bring in Raffle or Laterra as a fourth-line option. The backup goaltender, of course, would more than likely be Neuwirth, just because of how much we'd have to give up to get Wayne Simmons. Although, Alex Lyon and Stolarz are there, so there are some options for goaltenders from Philly. You have Ottawa as well. Steve Mason would be the target. A little bit worried about him because he does have that extra year left on his deal. Skater-wise, it'd have to be Kevin Hayes or Ryan Dzingel as the top 6 addition. We could look at a Pyatt or a Magnus Pajärvi as well for the fourth line. And then there's Montreal, where again, Antti Niemi would be the target as the backup goaltender. The big move, though, would be getting Matt Duchene and potentially a Paul Byron for the fourth line. So those, I would say, are the options if we want to trade Pekka Rinne. So that is the first thing that we have to decide, right? So in the comments, I want to know from you, number 1, do we trade Rinne? If no, then we're good to go. If yes, let me know what team. Let me know in order, like prioritize. Like, okay, if you, like your number 1 choice, your top 3 out of the teams that I mentioned that you'd like to see me ideally go for and try to work that out with. Let me know what deal I should try to prioritize to get done. And I think really whatever you guys list at the top, if we decide to get rid of Rinne, that's what we'll look to do. So heading in to the playoffs, the next episode will be the deadline, and we'll also go ahead and if we make the playoffs, which we should, it'll be our first round matchup, or if it's a complete catastrophe, we'll go ahead and go to the draft. As far as moves that have already been made, Philly's already been wheeling and dealing a little bit. They sent a first-round pick, Felix Sandstrom, and 2 other pieces to Minnesota for Jared Spurgeon and Mikko Koivu. Ottawa acquired Melker Karlsson for Christian Milan in the 4th and a 5th. Arizona gets Alex Edler and a 4th for Pierre-Olivier Joseph and a 4th. Montreal just picked up Matt Duchene for Kevin Hayes, Ikonen, and 2 others. The Rangers get a 1st, a 2nd, and Rasmus Sandin for Zuccarello and a 5th. The Bruins get Eric Stahl, Matt Reed, and a 5th for a 1st, Senyshyn and Lozon. Lovejoy, a 4th and a 7th go to Florida for Max Gilden and a 4th. Colorado gets a 1st and Riley Tufte for Eric Johnson. That's ridiculous. Joel Farabee and a 5th go to San Jose in exchange for Justin Braun, a 5th and a 6th. And Montreal, who again just acquired Kevin Hayes, along with a 6th and a 7th for a 2nd and a 4th. Ridiculous. So half the players Montreal just acquired are already on the block. Again, we have options. With that knowledge given to you, let me know what you think. I'll see you guys in the next one. We'll make the changes to the team, and we'll go for it from there. Will this be the Ospreys' year? I don't know, but I'm excited to find out. Goodbye. Goodbye. For now, at least. It's not goodbye, it's a see you later. So goodbye.